Jade Mountain Academy is a boarding school in the book series of Wings of Fire and the location of the second arc. It was created after the decades-long War of Sand-Winged Succession in order to bring the tribes back together and teach friendship to all. That sounds nice, however, this is Wings of Fire, not My Little Pony. Within the first week, a bombing took place and killed one of its students. Then the teachers almost got assassinated by the victim of an attempted murder. Within the first 2 months, the students there managed to awaken an ancient evil. By awakening him, they made the Ice Wings mad at the school. The Ice Wings and Night Wings then had a war over Jade Mountain Academy, which resulted in an avalanche. The thing is, even without the ancient evil, which they could have had no knowledge of it existing, the project was destined to fail for a variety of reasons. So today, we are going to go over all the reasons why Jade Mountain Academy was a terrible idea, which realistically should have combusted even more than it did. Before we get started, if you're new to this channel, please think about subscribing. I regularly post both Wings of Fire and Warrior Cats content, so you'll never be bored. And to my current subscribers, thank you so much for supporting me. I wouldn't have gotten here without y'all. The first flaw in the entire Jade Mountain plan is the timing of the school. Jade Mountain Academy was planned for just months after the war ended, and it was opened less than a year after the end of the war. That means that the wounds of war would still be fresh in the minds of the Dragonettes, and the losses would be as well. They would still be recovering from the trauma of war, and then they would be moved to a new, unknown environment that might cause them to lash out. Not only were the Dragonettes exposed to the war, but a lot of them were active participants. Mudwings were used like cannon fodder on the battlefield. The Ice Wings killed partially for sport. The Sea Wings got their palace bombed, which undoubtedly shook their kingdom to its core. The grudges formed during the war are still there, with no time to heal. This can be seen when the Sand Wings discuss which side of the war they supported and get shockingly heated over it. It is even worse between different tribes, it is likely even worse between different tribes, like the Mudwings and the Ice Wings, or the Sky Wings and the Sea Wings. Besides for the war, we have the fact that a lot of the tribes have pre-existing grudges with each other. Everyone hates the Rain Wings. The Ice Wings hate the Night Wings, and the Rain Wings are deeply distrustful of the Night Wings as well. It is overall a shock that there weren't that many fights breaking out of Jade Mountain because of each other's actions during the war. Also, even without the war, there's a lot of trauma in that school. Moonwatcher grew up away from it all and is still a ball of anxiety due to her mother's fear-mongering. Turtle is anxious because it is a secret of his animus magic. Keebly grew up far away from the war, but was part of a brutal mafia family. The next flaw is the variety and scope of the school. Let's start with the age range of the school. Each age range has its own needs. You wouldn't put a toddler in a class with high schoolers unless the toddler was a genius or the high schoolers were very dumb. However, they pretty much do that at Jade Mountain when they put an enemy in the same classes as Keebly and Moon, or in the same class as Onyx. The mixing of age ranges also presents some problems when it comes to bullying. Dragons at the age of 2 years are around the same size as dolphins, and 8 years the size of a large horse. An enemy is 2 years and the DoD are 8 years. If an 8-year-old decide they want to bully or intimidate a 2-year-old, there's little that the 2-year-old could do about it. Besides for an enemy who is, an animus. I just want to clarify that the sizes that I said might not be accurate. Sizing in Wings of Fire is a whole other issue that I'm reserving for a later video. The general scope of Jade Mountain is also an issue. There are 5 winglets with 7 dragons in each. That means 35 dragons total, or rather dragonettes. The more factors you have in an experiment, the more chances you have of something going wrong. By having less dragonettes, the founders of the school could have handpicked the best dragons, ensuring that no violent dragons likely to injure the other students got in. They also could have paid better attention to each student and maybe provide more specific counseling. If there had been less dragonettes, maybe Sunny could have talked to Sora about her feelings about the war, preventing her from trying to kill Icicle multiple times. Or maybe Icicle would have opened up about Scarlet holding her brother hostage. There's also large differences between the dragons that they teach. Half of the school is royalty or near royalty like Keebly, and the other half is not. The royals have a much different perspective on life, even if they were in the war, from the common dragons. A prime example of that is an enemy. An enemy grew up very, very close to Queen Coral, who was willing to let one of her underlings bleed to death in her throne room. That rubs off on the way she treats other dragons, like getting Pike to almost fight Bigtail for a fish that she wanted, or calling Ostrich cruel things. Even without royalty, class disparity also exists in Wings of Fire. You might think that only Pantala had it, but if you pay enough attention, you can see hints of it in Pyria. Coral casually discusses the eel-eating masses, and the Ice Wings within the three castles look down on those who live outside them, such as Lynx's family. They look even more down their noses at the non-ranked dragons, which one can see in the Caribou story. As much as I love the Dragonets of Destiny, I have to admit that the teachers themselves are also an issue. The majority of the teachers at Jade Mountain Academy have no experience, not just in their fields, but in the real world. The Dragonets of Destiny all grew up quite literally under a rock. Though they had some adventures in the real world, they started school pretty much immediately after the war ended. They had no real time to adjust to the real world where they weren't in constant danger. They're also not particularly knowledgeable in any field. The Guardians gave them lessons, but being homeschooled doesn't often provide that good of an education. They also have not been given a specialized education. You can't tell me that there is no such thing as higher education or specialized training in Wings of Fire. Both of Dune's parents were teachers. Wait, I guess that means that the DoD had at least one good teacher. However, that still doesn't make them experts in any field. Clay has no credentials to be teaching healing. He never showed an interest in that in the main series, besides for being delighted when he found out that Mud helped him recover from his injuries faster. Just a side note, but Clay has so many jobs at the school. He is the combat instructor, the healing teacher, organizes food for the school, and is also a security guard as he breaks up fights. You think Tsunami would be in charge of at least food, considering she is the headmaster. Moving on, the Dragonets of Destiny are also very young. They have many students who are around them in age, like Flame and Ochre. They even take in students who are much higher than them in age, like Onyx, who I did a video on a while back. There was only one teacher who was not part of the Dragonets of Destiny, Webbs. Webbs taught the DoD, however he was not trained as a teacher and was a guard before he was part of the Talons of Peace. However, Pyrian history appears not to be as complex and well excavated as our own, so I will give him a point for studying that. There's also Fate Speaker. However, I think she's temporary. If not, we have no clue what class she teaches, so I will assume that she's the librarian's aide. There are remarkably few teachers on staff for the number of Dragonets. There's Starflight, Tsunami, Sunny, Clay, Webbs, and possibly Fate Speaker. That's 5 or 6 teachers for 35 Dragonets. Though that may seem like a good ratio compared to teaching in our world, you have to remember that Starflight is a librarian and Tsunami is busy being the headmaster and actually administrating and organizing the school. The Dragonets and False Dragonets are also around the same age as a lot of the students there, which will not help in commanding order and having all of the dragons there under control. It is clear to see that Jade Mountain was destined to fail, or at least have a bumpy ride. They opened up too soon after the end of a dramatic war that spanned the entire continent. They invited a large number of Dragonets in, not caring for age or any other factor. The teachers were also ill-prepared to teach that many Dragonets. All of this made for a dragon flame cacti about to explode, which Sora lit a flame. That's all I have to say about Jade Mountain Academy for today. Do you think the Dragonets of Destiny were destined to fail in creating a school? Would you attend the academy if you lived in Wings of Fire? Comment down below. If you liked this video, feel free to subscribe. I make Wings of Fire and Warrior Cats videos pretty often, and your support would mean a lot to me. And to those who are already subscribed, thank you for your continued support. I wouldn't have gotten here without y'all. Peace, Rogan out.